Hello, everyone. This is my first time going live. I definitely want you to see that beautiful orchid. I'll scoot this way. My first time going live for YouTube. It's kind of neat to be on. I have some experience going live on some other platforms, but this is neat because there's so many of you out there. My name is Tamar Prager. I am a business owner of a paper decluttering company. And I kind of want to introduce myself. I have some videos up on my site, but the real magic of what I do and how I do it and who I help and how I help them is on my website. So I would love for you to check that out. I'd be so honored. And it's www.tamarprager.com. So here's what I want to get to right away. My background is actually in healthcare. And long story short, I pivoted majorly during this past year, as many people have during the pandemic. And I found myself back in this territory of helping people learn to let go of things that they no longer want, no longer need, in order to find kind of more freedom in their life. And the amazing thing is that for some people, the papers in their lives, the clutter, is a real impediment towards finding themselves, towards moving forward in a positive direction, towards freedom, towards feeling good about themselves. It's a real player. And so the question that always interested me was, why is it that people can't let go of, can't throw out, can't donate papers, things that, number one, no longer serve them, they're not utilizing in any way, and that they don't even want? So I always found that to be an interesting question. Why would we hold on to things that we don't need and we don't want? And the question, of course, or rather the answer, is complex. There are many different reasons why people do it. Some people have limiting beliefs and they feel like, I'm just not a person who can be organized. I'm destined to live in a cluttered house. You know, that's the type of house I grew up in. And so that's the kind of house I'm going to have. I can't figure out how to let it go, or things are too sentimental to me. Everything feels sentimental, so I don't know how to let it go. I have to hold on to it. And of course, the big thing for a lot of people is what if? What if I will actually need this recipe one day? What if I will actually need this piece of paper with this handyman's phone number on it, even though I have 3 other handyman's phone number up on my bulletin board? What if? So it's the what if that holds people hostage to stuff, to clutter. And what I love doing is showing people how they can detach from all of these belief systems, and showing people how to put themselves back in the driver's seat. Because the amazing thing is that unlike our relationship to other people, our relationship to paper is kind of one-sided in that we're the only humans here. We're the only animate object. The other side is an inanimate object. A piece of paper is not going to yell at you for throwing it out. A piece of paper is not going to protest or say anything. It happily crumples up and you toss it, or gets recycled, or whatever it is. And yet we still hold on to it because of guilt, because of shame, maybe because of worry. So I help people, I guide people towards a new relationship to paper. And it sounds kind of silly, perhaps. It sounds maybe unnecessary. Why should we focus on this? And I think there are a lot of people, I know there are a lot of people out there for whom paper and clutter is a real issue. Like I said initially, like it keeps them stuck. It keeps them back. It keeps them from stepping into who they really are. And you think, well, how could paper do that? Or like, how could clutter do that? It's not that important, but it actually is. I think the environment that we allow ourselves to live in, that we create for ourselves, is a big player in how we feel day to day. right? If you walk into a room in your house and it's full of junk and piles and you can't even think straight when you're in there, that's going to impact your mood and how you feel and what thoughts are immediately running through your mind, the same narrative over and over, probably negative thoughts. That's going to impact you differently than if you were to walk into an airy, open space of your dreams, or if you were to walk into a room that felt good to you, whatever that might look like. So my point is simply that our environment, especially in our homes where we spend time, certainly more so now that we're in a pandemic, but that our environment impacts us. And so why not put time and effort and energy into creating an environment that feels good, that enables you to free up your mental space and your heart and the emotional space inside of you towards what you actually want to pursue, towards who you want to be. So the magic that I talk about in the ways that I help people deal with paper is all about changing people's relationship so that when you see your children's artwork from the 8th grade, you're able to appreciate the child that you once had who created that, who you can appreciate the age that they were, right, when they created this, when they wrote this poem, whatever it is, while simultaneously letting it go. Why? Because you understand that that beautiful child who created that is still in your heart. The love that you feel for that child is in here. The love that they feel for you is in here. That you don't need to hold on to every little bit of paper that they ever wrote upon, that they ever drew upon in order to keep them close to you. That's the key. Now, I always tell people, if you have no problem holding on to all of your papers, your boxes, whatever, who am I to tell you to throw it out? I'm not. That doesn't make sense. It's only when a person is troubled by their papers, feels weighted down by them, feels ashamed by all of it, feels stuck. People feel paralyzed under all of their piles. So that's when I come in and I say, let me help you. Let me guide you out of these piles and into a new relationship, because I have to tell you, I'm not just about storage solutions. Of course, you can buy neat and tidy, aesthetically pleasing boxes and systems. I don't want to create systems, though, only because systems will hide. Well, simply, it's a temporary Band-Aid. But the paper, the clutter, the excess still exists. You don't want to just push the clutter into another door and close it. You want to look at the clutter. We're going to go through it together. And the clients that I believe I have genuinely helped in a dramatic way, we've gone paper by paper by paper. And I help people navigate through those feelings, those emotions. And I explain to you, first we try and discern whether it's really an essential thing in your life. There are papers that are essential. There are. But they're not going to be the recipe from 25 years ago or the 100 recipes that you never make. It's not going to be the magazine collection that you never look at, but that you put away every month. You don't look at it. It's not serving you in some way. You don't even want it there, but somehow you think you have to hold on to it. So I'm going to end with one little bit of content that is fun to share. And I have a lot of these bits of content that I think are quite helpful, actually. And hello to whomever is watching. Thank you for watching. Do you have issues with clutter, by the way, whoever is watching? Or are you someone who can easily let go, who can easily toss things out? It's very curious. Some people, I have things that are challenging for me. Of course, everyone does. But this is an area that is not difficult. I kind of enjoy keeping on top of the paper flow, right? It's a way for me to exercise control in my life, to exert control over, or if you don't like the word control, just to have agency over what kind of home you have, what kind of feeling you want to have when you walk into a room. So what I was going to share is the following thought, which is just because a piece of paper comes into your home doesn't mean you have to hold on to it. So let that sink in for a minute. Just because a piece of paper or a magazine, a newspaper, a letter, a holiday card, a bill, just because it comes into your house, somehow it made its way into your house, doesn't mean you have to hold on to it. So what does that translate into? Well, that means that obviously bills need to be paid, right? But once you've paid the bill, you can let go of the paper. If you want to keep, gets into another kind of systems discussion. Some people do everything online. They don't need to hold on to paper copies. And I always like to remind people, the company that you're paying has all of the information, right? They're doing all of the storage for you. So if you had a question about a bill or about a particular detail on your account, you call the company. I would imagine in this day and age, in 2021, they have it. But let's say newspapers. I get the New York Times every weekend. My parents got me the subscription. It was very nice of them. And before I had kids, I probably read a lot more of the New York Times. I had more time on my hands. Now what happens, it comes in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I know immediately, just immediately, what sections I'm going to put into the recycling. Immediately, because if I don't, they're just going to take up space and sit around and become clutter. And every time I see them and pass them by, I'm going to think, gosh, I wish I had time to read that, or gosh, I really should read it. And then it becomes a should and a blame thing, and not blame, a guilt thing. And so instead, I just tell myself I'm realistic with myself and my time, and I'm honest. And I say, you know what, Tamar, there are many things you want to read, but this isn't at the top of the list. It's not going to happen. And so it feels so refreshing to be honest with yourself. Certainly with other people, feels great to be honest, but especially with yourself, you're not hiding anything. So I just let go this section, that section, this section, and I hold on to the 2 or 3 sections that I'd like to read. And what happens if by the end of the weekend or Monday I haven't read it? It just goes out. And here's what I always tell clients. It's okay. Why? Number one, you can find it online. But number two, rest assured there is more paper coming in, right? So there will always be articles of interest that come in your door. And so if you want to keep on top of it, if you want to prevent yourself from getting inundated and from feeling buried under hundreds of articles of interest, you have to let them go on a consistent basis. Even though it's fascinating, even though we live in a digital age, there is still a tremendous number of paper, physical paper, right? This is a bill that comes into our lives every day. So if we remind ourselves that even though we thought this article was interesting, it's okay that we're not reading it because we're not that interested in it. It's not going to make the top 5 that we want to get to in this next month. And if it still remains in your brain in a few weeks, okay, you can Google it. You can find it online if you really want to read it. Because rest assured, the next weekend comes and you're going to get more and more. Okay, so you never have to worry that if you throw away, if you let go of this article, that there's never going to be another interesting article again. Of course there will be. There will be thousands. So I'm going to leave it there. This was fun. I know it works now. I can get on here. Thank you to the one viewer who's here for my inaugural YouTube stream. Take care, and I hope to be of service to those out there who need some help. it's my name, .tamarprager.com, TamarPrager. On my channel, my YouTube channel, there's a link to my site. I also have a podcast called The Paperweight, I should mention. And I think you'll enjoy it. It's a soothing, calming, grounding way to learn a little bit more about our relationship to paper, and most importantly, tips and kind of hacks, what we can do to really learn to let it go, to move forward, to finally let it go, to change our relationship, to change how we view paper. So you can check that out on all podcast streaming platforms, The Paperweight. Take care, guys.